The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual co-host and do not reflect the official policy or position of the Firearms Radio Network and/or their employers. Viewer discretion is advised. This is especially true on our live shows.
Broadcast for shooters, hunters, and gun enthusiasts. This is the Firearms Radio Network. The bandwidth for this episode of This Week in Guns is sponsored by Patriot Patch Company. PatriotPatch.co.
Welcome to This Week in Guns. This show is brought to you by the Firearms Radio Network and Patriot Patch Company.
And this show offers commentary on the latest firearms industry news, information, and buzz. I'm the host of this. Sean Heron is my name, and it is my pleasure to introduce our panelists tonight. We've got double the flavor, double the fun. Josh and Josh from Black Diamond Gun and Gear.
That was good. That almost worked. That was really good.
I like that.
I just made that up. You guys,
right off the top of the head, you can't beat it.
Yes, it's fantastic. Don't forget, check out the Patriot Patch Company, patriotpatch.co. And, the Patch the Monk Club, one of my favorite things. Every time they show up, I get a little bit giddy, a little bit sweaty, but 100% satisfied. Let's move directly into the stories. FBI arrests the Dayton killer's accomplice. So the Dayton guy, the murderer, the micro penis murderer, as I like to call all of them, he had a buddy who bought a bunch of the stuff and helped him hide it from his parents. And he has now been arrested. And the thing that he's actually arrested for is not because he did any of that stuff. It's because he lied about drug use on his form 4473. And that's what he's been arrested for. And I say good. But then again, at the same time, when I think that, I'm like, well, how many other people out there are lying on their form 4473 as relates to the unlawful user or addicted to marijuana or any other narcotic? So it's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. I think he probably is just getting a raw deal because this guy used that stuff. There's no evidence so far that this man had any idea what his friend or acquaintance was going to do. They smoked a lot of weed together, did a lot of mushrooms and other things together. And then apparently he ordered a bunch of guns and the body armor and all this other stuff. But when they served a search warrant on his house, there was a lot of marijuana drug paraphernalia. And now he has been arrested and charged, I believe, with, lying on the 4473, lying on a federal form. And I don't know. I'm a little bit country and a little bit rock and roll in this one. How about you, Josh's?
So we'll ask this because there are states that it is legal to consume marijuana.
Colorado
being one. So are the 4473s different in those states?
No, because it's federal. So even though it's legal in the state for people to purchase and use marijuana, it's still illegal federally, and it opens up a big thing. If it's legal in the state, it's illegal federally. If you fill out a 4473 and say that you are not an unlawful user, or say that you are not a user of marijuana or other narcotics, then you're lying on that 4473. That's what this guy did, and he's
right.
Getting in trouble for it. So it doesn't matter if it doesn't matter if it's legal in your state. It's still illegal federally, and until that changes, if you fill out that form and you lie about it, I guess this could be the outcome.
How did they know that he was the guy that bought all the stuff? And not only that, isn't it illegal to buy stuff for people anyway?
So it looks, I don't believe that he bought let me get to where everything he specifically purchased.
Right. So serialized stuff that you would need an FFL for is totally illegal to buy and give to somebody else, right? Or a straw purchase or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, a straw purchase. So it looks like he purchased the high capacity, the standard capacity magazine, body armor, and part of the gun that's used were all purchased by this guy. Unclear if he had any prior knowledge of the plan. Doesn't say whether he bought the upper or the actual serialized portion, the lower.
Here's the thing that I think. So basically, yes, all this stuff is against the law for you to buy something for a straw purchase or somebody else or whatever. The problem is that is in fact the law, and it always gets broken. So what the fuck does it matter? You shouldn't have a law against it anyway, first of all. But the thing is that it was already illegal for him to buy something and give it to somebody else. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. In Tennessee, you can gift I know for sure in Tennessee, you can gift a gun to somebody in the family. So I know that that's legal. But I don't know if that would apply to this or not.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. It depends on whether it was a straw purchase or whether he purchased that as a bona fide gift for an individual. But I would say that, I mean,
is there really a way to tell that, though? I mean, really?
Not necessarily, but there's an excellent episode of Trigger Words by Ryan Kleckner on the Firearms Radio Network that talks about gifting firearms. And if I recall correctly, do it for a family, friend, wife, something like that, but be very careful. Probably don't even do it at all for anyone outside of that. But he lied on the 4473. That's what he's been arrested and charged for. He's getting a raw deal, I think, probably because his friend murdered a bunch of people. And
yeah, I think so. I would agree with that. And like I said, there shouldn't be a law against it anyway. Although I'm glad that did that guy die or did he actually go to jail?
Oh no, he died. It looks like he cased the bar the night before, and he was all hopped up on drugs and alcohol. He was shot 24 times before succumbing to his wounds. It looked like, which means police in that bar hit him 24 times. He was dead 32 seconds after he started shooting.
Okay, good. So glad that asshole's no longer with us.
Yep.
But the thing is that there's laws in place for things like that don't get. Not saying that there should be laws, but what I'm saying is that they're already there in place and they're not even getting worked right anyway. So that's my point, I guess, in all that.
Other Josh, what are your thoughts?
To be honest with you, criminals will get guns, whether they are legally possessed or illegally possessed. If his friend didn't buy it from him, he would have went alternate routes. So he was probably going to get guns either way. The body armor and the standard capacity magazines, he could have went by a police car and busted the windows out and acquired those.
I mean, we can what if it all day long. The point is the fact that it's already a law and it doesn't fucking make a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Moving on.
Is he still doing this thing where he's editing all this stuff?
Yeah, but don't make it terrible. Come on, Josh.
Sorry, Kenny. Sorry,
Kenny.
I was literally just texting you. All right, perfect. Next story, New York Times. It's too late for an assault weapons ban. And this article comes to us from Bearing Arms, but I read this last week in the New York Times. And I just want to give you a little bit of quote. It says, with proper care and maintenance, an AR-15 rifle manufactured today, and I'm going to read their words, so don't think that these are my words, will fire just as effectively in the year 2119 and probably for decades after that. There's currently around 15 million military-style rifles in civilian hands in the United States. They're very rarely used in suicides or crimes, but when they are, the bloodshed is appalling. Acknowledging the grim reality, blah, 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 blah. Frustratingly, calling for military-style rifle bans, as I have done for years, virtue signal, may be making other life-saving gun laws harder to pass. Not only is confiscation politically untenable, the compliance rates of gun owners when bans are passed are laughably low. Excellent job, people. The distribution of these weapons across society makes even their prohibition nearly impossible. In 1996, Australia watched a mandatory gun buyback of 650,000 military-style weapons. While gun ownership per capita in the country declined by more than 20%, today Australians own more guns than they did before the buyback. New Zealand's leaders in the wake of the Christchurch massacre launched a compulsory buyback effort of the tens of thousands of military-style weapons estimated to be in the country, and I think they had maybe like 65 turned in out of the tens of thousands. And it's good to see the New York Times actually publishing something like this, because I agree with them. You cannot ban assault rifles. You cannot afford to buy back every AR-15 in this country. Josh, you agree with them? Can it be done? And do you think that they have ulterior motives to this article?
They already tried it in the 90s. Bill Clinton already did it, and it did nothing.
It did nothing. The thing is that you will not be able to buy them all back. Who's to know that some, Jim Bob over here doesn't have 15 stashed in his backyard? You don't know that, because in Tennessee, guess what? You don't have to, register any of your firearms, which is the greatest thing I love about being in Tennessee. Anyway, so you don't have to do that. You don't know what anybody's got, and there's just no way it can happen. Not only that, it's not going to affect anything if they take it back as per capita what happened in 94. So,
like you said, sporting rifles are rarely used in crime. When they are used,
don't say that to them because they will get the idea of, hey, well, okay, well, maybe we should just do pistols and then we all be fucked. So don't do that.
But that's the main thing. I mean, if you look at crime statistics, it's mainly high points. So
look, my high points have never hurt anybody except me.
That's true.
Yeah, I've got a slide by it.
Yeah, but the thing is that no, I don't think it will change.
Yeah, I agree, but it is good. At least someone over there recognizes it, and then someone else agreed to publish it. Whatever happened.
Do we think they have alternative motives? Yes.
Oh,
because I think that without a doubt, like it's not just going to stop there. Do you think if they were just like, hey, we're just going to ban assault rifles, or and we'd be like, yeah, sure, okay. Well, after that, then we're done. Then no, that would not stop. They would literally go for anything that comes next.
Yeah.
Which is what anybody would do a shooting with. Like they would just come for it next. Like there's no stopping it.
I think their ulterior motives are they're saying, oh, look, we're never going to ban these. It's unrealistic. We need to go after the things we can actually accomplish. And
do they not know that some like AR-9, same thing as a Glock 19 or whatever, longer barrel. But what I'm saying is same thing. And it just looks the same. Like they fire exactly the same. All assault rifles, quotes, they, fire the same as they're semi-automatic. Everything is. So it's not like it's, I don't know, I'm ranting now, but it's fine.
I'm with you.
Semi-automatic. Fully semi-automatic.
So next story comes to us from The Truth About Guns. Major NRA donor files lawsuit for fraudulent solicitations of funds. You may have heard of a man named, I believe, David Del Aquila, and he has an organization. I'm trying to help save the NRA.com. I think they're doing pretty good, but basically he's a guy who's donated tons of money to the NRA, and he has it in his will or whatever to leave more money to the NRA. He's gotten with a bunch of other high dollar donors and said, look, this is unacceptable. Wayne LaPierre needs to go. He's got a 3-part plan, I believe, and one of those parts was filing this class action lawsuit. But according to the lawsuit alleges that the NRA represented the funds he donated would be used for gun safety education, to promote shooting sports and hunter safety, to foster wildlife conservation, and to protect gun ownership rights in the United States. However, they say that the uses of solicited funds were materially false, and in reality, the NRA used the solicited funds for alternative purposes, including without limitation the following. Tons of spending with the Brewer law firm, tons of spending for clothing purchases by LaPierre from Beverly Hills Clothing Store, luxury travel for LaPierre, inflated payments to the NRA's advertising agency at that time, Ackerman McQueen, spending $5,446.16 per month for a luxury apartment for a lady named Megan Allen, an intern in Fairfax, Virginia. But dang, $5,400 a month apartment for an intern. I want to intern for the NRA, unless I actually have to do the things that she probably did. But that's just speculation.
Hey, it's just money, okay?
Spending funds for a board meeting for the NRA to be held in Alaska rather than Fairfax, Virginia, so they can fish and have fun in Alaska.
And literally do everything not NRA. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. By paying defendant LaPierre an annual salary of $1.4 million, they basically want all of everything they've put back into the NRA plus damages and attorney's fees. And I think this is great. This is actually going out and doing something. They're not collecting our money as people who are out here who want the NRA to reform and be great again. These are people who have put in many, many, many dollars, and they recognize that LaPierre needs to go. What do you guys think?
So I completely agree. I think he does.
Yeah, I agree too. But the thing is, back in the day when it very first started, was it not to the power of the people and not the power of big people on the board or whatever?
What do you mean?
Like, so was it basically by the power of the people and not just like given all the power to Wayne LaPierre or whoever is in charge?
I don't think Wayne LaPierre. So here's the thing. I mean, the NRA is a membership organization, meaning that they should cater to the desires of the membership who pays in and pays the NRA basically to defend our rights, to lobby for us, and do all those other things. But really what it's turned into is a personal piggy bank. And this is my opinion, turned into this personal piggy bank for these people who are at the top of the hierarchy within the NRA internal structure. But either way, the NRA said, this is what we're going to spend your money on. David Del Aquila says, no, you're spending my money on this extremely expensive law firm, gave it a bunch of it to Ackerman McQueen. You're buying houses. You're trying to buy a house. You're buying cars. you're doing all this stuff with the money that you told me would be going to fight for the Second Amendment and enhance the shooting sports. And
I get with when it comes with them doing major things and them getting money for it because they're doing a great job. That comes with it's success, basically. With success comes money and all that stuff like that, which is great. But when you get to that point to where you're spending it on frivolous things and not spending it on the things that you should be spending it on, that's when it becomes a problem, which is what we're having to deal with now, so many years later. The thing is that is there any way that we could just not have like 65 freaking board members or whatever I call myself? And go back to like 10 people that would run it or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, so I mean, there's the executive committee, there's the executive branch of the National Rifle Association, then 76 board members. Part of David Dell'Aquila at helpsavethenra.com, part of what he wants to do is, I'll just go ahead and read them because I think they're pretty good. He wants Wayne LaPierre and NRA officers, executive directors, managing directors to resign immediately, including especially Josh Powell. He wants Chris Cox reinstated and promoted to CEO, executive vice president of the NRA to maintain continuity, stability, and provide new leadership. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West immediately replaces the current NRA president, Carolyn Meadows Cotton, and the cookie man, the deceptive jerk, Willis Lee, resign from their positions as first vice president and second vice president, respectively. An independent financial audit to determine exactly what we think it will. A reduction in the number of board members from 76 to 30, and board members shall only receive compensation for travel and expenses, nothing else. All past NRA presidents immediately removed from the board of directors, and their September board meeting in Anchorage, Alaska, moved to a central location like Dallas, Texas, Chicago, Illinois, and the $100,000 Alaskan cruise fishing trip for all 76 board members to be canceled, and all future board meetings are held in cities within reasonable travel and location from headquarters. And that's what they want. Part of the class action part of their 3-part plan is the class action lawsuit, and helpsavethenra.com is where you can go find out more. So they have filed that lawsuit. We will see where it goes. I think it's a good thing personally.
Yep. Yeah, I stand behind it 100%. I mean, this should have been happening years ago. Mm-hmm. I hate that it hasn't, but
Yeah, well, and the great thing about this organization is these are big dollar donors that have donated a ton of money. I think I saw millions of dollars that they're withholding from the NRA until their demands are met. And I think that's a good thing. And again, this organization is not going after our money. They're not asking for our money. They're like, this is what we're going to do. This is what we want. And I respect that highly.
I mean, pretty much you can save money by taking all that stuff that they're doing that's wrong out of it. So why would you not just save that money?
Yeah, I agree. Next story. Let me get back to it. NRA wins first round in Los Angeles contractor shaming law case. We have talked about this on the show before, but basically Los Angeles was saying if you bid on anything as a contractor to the city, county of Los Angeles, you have to disclose any involvement or support of the National Rifle Association. And that is absolutely ridiculous. So U.S. District Judge Stephen Wilson on Monday, the 12th, August 12th, or the Monday before August 12th, rejected the city's argument that contractors' involvement with the NRA must be disclosed and said it isn't expressive within the meaning of the First Amendment.
I get it, but could you not just be like, no, I don't have anything to do with them.
But I guess there's other parts of it that, like if they see that you attend a Friends of NRA dinner or something like that, companies post stuff like that, and
I'd just be like, nah, it wasn't me.
Yeah, that wasn't me. That was the other kids.
It was my twin brother.
No, I saw this on your social media. No, you didn't. Just like it's super simple. It's not hard.
I took a screenshot. It's photoshopped.
Yeah, just deny till you die, basically. I mean, right?
Yeah, but let's see. The NRA's lawyer said that the ordinance is aimed at discouraging companies from partnering with the organization, putting their city contracts at risk. Noted that several city council members said during debates on the law and on Twitter that they disagreed with the NRA's mission and influence, and the judge has agreed with them so far. The NRA is also trying to block this ordinance from going into effect. And good, because this is ridiculous. Like, I don't think if someone gives money to, Moms Demand Action or every time. I don't even know what the name of these stupid groups are. But if someone gives money to them, like I don't think they should be excluded from doing contracts with LA County or anything else. I don't think that's not the free country I want to live in.
Yeah, I agree. That's not a free country. That's the point.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's totally going against like. Well, I mean, it's the same thing with YouTube. YouTube is trying to hurt you or hurt your views or hurt your whatever you're doing here, creating content, whatever. It's hurting all of that because you're having to do with gun stuff or whatever. I mean, it's just like anything else. People banning stuff on Facebook because it's a post that supposedly has something with violence in it when it truly doesn't. It's just because it's gun content or whatever. You could put up a picture of a Glock and it'll be taken down or whatever off of Facebook within the first hour. Like it's the same thing.
Yeah. Other Josh, anything to add there?
I'm just glad that I don't live in California, to be honest with you.
No doubt. The next article is a little bit of an opinion piece, but WLP Wayne LaPierre flexes his muscle on gun rights despite facing so much opposition. This comes to us from MSN.com. And let me tell you how it starts. The NRA has abided by its usual reaction after mass shootings. Again, their words, not mine. Initially saying nothing, followed by a muted response. In this case, its lead spokesman said it would not participate in politicizing these tragedies and remain committed to the safe and lawful use of firearms by those exercising their Second Amendment freedoms. Talks a lot about LaPierre in this article, and this article will be in the show notes. I think it was a pretty interesting one. Has people that are kind of against LaPierre talking, like Jeff Knox, and it has Richard Feldman, a former NRA lobbyist, talking about Wayne LaPierre and kind of how he got his start and things like that, and continues on and on and on, and then talks. I just thought it was a really interesting article, and LaPierre still is out there, and we're going to talk about another story here in just a minute. He's still doing those things, effective or ineffectively. It remains to be seen, but I think my point here is just that he still wields a lot of political power. As we'll find out in just a moment. What do you guys think? You think that he's still fighting the good fight out there, that he's just completely corrupt and not able to affect any change whatsoever, or what?
We would like to think that he's still at least trying.
Yeah.
But like you said, I mean, you get so high up into the organization and you stay there for so long, you become, you're it. I mean, you are the absolute power. That's why we only let presidents run 2 terms.
Yeah. I mean, that's why there should be term limits. I mean, on everything, really. But the thing is, I think that he maybe is trying to show that he can still do something or something like that to maybe win back some votes or something like that, maybe. But in actuality, do I think he's still doing the things that he's being basically
paid?
Being, what is that word?
Do I think he's doing right by the people? No.
Yeah. Accused. Is he doing the stuff he's being accused of? Yeah, probably still. He probably doesn't care. I mean, he's probably just trying to win back whatever he's lost.
Next article comes to us from the Washington Post. Trump tells Wayne LaPierre that universal background checks won't be pursued. The article starts off by saying that President Trump talked on Tuesday, August 20th, with National Rifle Association's chief executive Wayne LaPierre and assured him that universal background checks were off the table. According to several people familiar with the call, talks about a lot of other stuff in the article. Wayne LaPierre wrote on Twitter, "I spoke to the president today." He wrote, "We discussed the best ways to prevent these types of tragedies. The president is a strong two-way president and supports our right to keep and bear arms." Other people familiar with this call, but they remain anonymous, so give that, whatever credence you will, have said that they talked for 45 minutes. By the end of it, the two men had no disagreements and said the president seemed more focused on funding for mental health programs and other topics of interest to the NRA. I think that's great. I mean, I don't see anyone from FPC, GOA, or Second Amendment Foundation on the phone with the president, and the president pretty much immediately changing his path on some of the things that have happened. This is just August 20th. This was yesterday.
Well, that's why we need the NRA. I mean, and that's as simple as that. And you've said it before, they're a lobbying organization, and that's what we need. Yes, we need GOA, and there's other ones that sue, when laws come out and stuff like that, or try to get passed and all that stuff. But we also need the NRA, unfortunately. So the thing is that, first of all, I will say this. Trump is not a two-way president. I don't give a shit who says it, because it's not true.
Sorry, Kenny.
But he is not a 2A president. He's never been a 2A president. And the fact that he duped all of us, because I fell for it hard, man. I ain't going to lie to you. When I saw him at the NRA in Atlanta and he gave his speech and everything like that, I fell for it hard. And the fact that he's just not followed through with anything, literally anything that he promised, shows me that he's not a 2A president. And I will not believe by any means that he's a 2A president, because he's not. He may be doing what, he was suggested to him, because he's like, oh, guess what? You're probably going to lose all of your votes if you don't, because the people that voted you in here are people that are 2A people. So if you want to stay in power and you want to keep going with us and stuff, you better change your mind on it. That's the only reason why he may have changed his mind, not because he's a 2A president. Get that shit out of here. Sorry, Kenny.
So I think that I think the deal here, I don't think Trump is a 2A guy. I don't think that he's a guy that loves guns and like us. He's not like us. He's not our people, right? He's not the people that are on the show. He's not the people that listen to this show. What I think he is at least in this case, he understands that his constituents think that this stuff is unacceptable. And I have a feeling that the conversation with LaPierre, and I mean, if I was a bug on the wall, that would be fantastic. But my guess is that if you follow this path, you will lose the support of the NRA and its 5 million members, which that is the loss of the 2020 election cycle for Trump. So whether he's a gun guy or not, he is at least that. But I think personally that Trump will be the best president we've ever had for the Second Amendment, purely based on his Supreme Court nominees. He's changed the outlook and the makeup of the Supreme Court to at least people who we think will be Second Amendment friendly when cases are actually heard by the Supreme Court. So I think that he might be the best 2A president we've ever had, specifically for that one thing. Bump stocks, I think they all know. I think that they all know.
It's just no right taken away, man, is all it is. And not that bump stocks are awesome, because they're not. They're pieces of crap that are a novelty item that actually don't work good anyway. The thing is that it was another stab or another kick out from underneath us that basically negotiated our rights away. And I think that he is a smart enough businessman to know what he has to do to get elected, which is what he did in the beginning. He duped all of us and told us what we wanted to hear so that we would actually vote for him. So he's not dumb. Of course he's going to be like, oh, wait, you mean I'm going to lose everything? Yeah, I should probably just go ahead and say I'm not going to do that. I mean, it's that simple.
Yeah, look, man, my explanation when someone says, hey, what's lobbying? Because I say that word a lot. I'm like, hey, we need to be activists and advocates. We need lobbying, and then we need litigation when those other things fail. And they say, what's lobbying? Well, to put it bluntly, lobbying is blackmailing politicians to do what we want by offering to withhold money and votes and get them out of office so that they lose the power that they so crave. Right?
Yeah.
So what LaPierre did on this phone call seems like pretty effective lobbying of the president, because
that is true. I will agree with that.
Yeah. Now, I'm not trying to say that Trump is the 2A president and that he is infallible and that I agree with most things that he says, because that's just not the case. I'm not saying that Wayne LaPierre is an amazing stalwart that has never made any mistakes, but I think that Trump has listened to some people that were damaging to him. I think that LaPierre, as the leader of the NRA, has made some really huge mistakes putting people in power and listening to advice from people that he probably should not have. And unfortunately, I also think that LaPierre has been reasonably decent for the Second Amendment in this country. I'm not saying he hasn't ever made any missteps or anything else, but at the same time, he needs to take responsibility for the crap show that the NRA is right now. And it's
Has he gotten a little greedy? Yes,
probably. Yeah, I mean, absolute power corrupts. Absolutely, it's a tale as old as time. He may have started out as just a defender of the 2A and a great advocate to us, but eventually, if you live long enough, every hero becomes a villain, right? And he has become a villain.
More money, more problems. You know what I'm saying?
He has to take responsibility for what has happened under his watch, and I think that that's actually a pretty huge loss for us, because clearly, one phone call with the president immediately reverses his tact, and that tells me
shows you the power that the NRA actually has.
Yeah.
Honestly, it really does.
Yeah, but more importantly, the NRA is a membership organization. If they don't have the members, then they don't have the power. Wayne LaPierre's charisma and connections will only last so long. So it's a big mess, man. I think LaPierre has to go. I think he needs to take responsibility for where the NRA is today. 7 board members over the last month and a half have all resigned, including Julie Golub, Timothy Knight, Sean Maloney, Esther Schneider, a country music singer, some other people. It's a disaster. But I just wanted to kind of offer this article to be like, look, I get it. I'm with all you guys. LaPierre needs to step down. We need new leadership within the NRA. But then you see stories like this, and it makes me wonder just a tiny bit.
Yep, exactly.
All right. Enough about that nonsense. Colorado real estate agent survives violent attack because she was armed. And I think this is very, very interesting. This is from Commerce City, Colorado. I don't know where that is, but I assume it's somewhere in Colorado because, I've heard of it before. I just don't know where it is. This lady arrived at the property. It was for an open house. Guy comes in, asks a bunch of questions, how long it's been on the market, what kind of loans can I get? They go downstairs. Then they go upstairs to complete the showing. She walks into the bedroom. He pulls out a large knife, corners her. Then he pulls out a 6-inch rope and orders her into the closet. She pulls her firearm. He pepper sprays her in the eye. She fires the gun. He runs off. He gets arrested. Like, that was not going to go well for her. That is a situation where you're hearing her family speak at her funeral if she doesn't have a gun. And just a reminder that this is why we carry. This is why we have guns. This is why we shoot competition. This is why we have fun. This is why we build guns that look like this, modern sporting pistols. This is why everything that we do, because of this. Our interest in firearms is because we put so much credence into self-defense, and this story is a perfect expression of that.
So this story hits a little home for me because my mother is a real estate agent, and she actually told me a story about a lady who was in this area. I don't know her. I don't think she knew her. It was just a story that was told to her by somebody that she works at. Anyway, apparently she did the same thing. She met a guy out to look at a house, and long story short, he basically kidnapped her, tied her up, raped her, and killed her. And so it did not end well for her because she was not armed. And I don't care what anybody says. It's not being sexist. It's not being racist or whatever you want to call it. But men are more powerful than women are. That's just straight up how it is. I mean, unless you put me in the ring with Ronda Rousey, then she's probably going to kick my ass. But the thing is that, I mean, traditionally, you put me in, with my wife, can I overpower her? Absolutely. So the thing is that we are more powerful. We're a more powerful object, and so we are going to force our will, and it could happen unless you have an equal force to come back at us with, which is a gun, and which is what she should be carrying all the time.
Yeah, force multiplier. I completely agree.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to find.
Best example I've ever heard of that or seen. I saw this with my own eyes as we were in a bar in Nashville at the NRA annual meetings, and I'm on this other show called We Like Shooting, and one of the guys on my show, his name is
What? You're on We Like Shooting? Oh my God.
Jeremy's 6'7", and he's got the wingspan of a 737, and he's a very big guy. Anyway, there's a bachelor party full of Canadian women that are there in Nashville partying along with us, and we're having fun. And they ask why we're there, and we tell them that we're here for the NRA annual meetings. And they start to talk about, guns are bad and guns are this and guns are that. And we're having fun. We don't care. Like, we're just talking back and forth. Doesn't matter. One of the girls eventually walks up to Jeremy, and she's like, tell me why you need a gun. And Jeremy stands up, towers 2 feet over her, looks her dead in the eyes, and said, because if I wanted to rape you right now, you couldn't stop me. That's why people have guns. She shut up. She didn't say another word, and they ended up making out later. So
that's awesome.
I think he convinced her. And I completely agree. It's a force multiplier. She had no chance to survive Jeremy unless she had a way to defend herself with lethal force. And that's just plain and simple. And I think it's great. Other Josh, what do you think?
I solely agree. I think that everybody should be given the opportunity to carry, whether you're male, female, LBGQT, whatever it is. I think that everybody should carry. Sorry if I butchered that for all the people out there that identify as that. I'm sorry. I think that everybody should be able to carry and given the opportunity to carry, because you do not know. You do not know what's going to happen for day-to-day life. I mean, something bad could happen, and congratulations on this woman for actually defending herself.
Yeah, 100% agree. Moving into some less happy news. I'm only bringing this up because it annoys me. 6 police officers injured in Philadelphia active shooter situation is the headline. We have all heard about this. 6 officers were wounded. This is a guy. So that basically they're trying to serve a warrant on this guy. He starts shooting at him with a rifle, injures 6 police. They eventually take him into custody. It turns out the guy's a complete scumbag with a record as long as my leg and probably a little bit longer.
You mean he was a felon and he had a firearm? Oh, yeah, my God.
Yeah. And it was, he didn't walk into a place and do it like an active shooting. They tried to serve a warrant on a guy with a huge criminal record who was breaking the law by having a rifle, and he shot a bunch of cops, and they called it an active shooter and do lockdowns and everything. I'm like, no, that is clearly not that. That is not what people understand to be active shooter. You're just throwing around this word. Josh's, am I crazy?
I think that I heard this article. I read about it actually the other day. So basically, they were serving warrants on not his apartment, but he heard that they were getting ready to raid apartments, right? So he was just like, the hell with it. I'm going out with a bang, pretty much.
Oh, so he was a criminal who had a firearm, who wasn't allowed to have a firearm.
Yeah.
So that rule is already in place. Yet again, that has been broken. So... Yeah.
And they call it active shooter in multiple places. That's what we heard all day. Active shooter in Philadelphia. Active shooter. 6 cops injured in Philadelphia. I'm like, what?
Oh, yeah. Because that fits the narrative of what they want you to hear.
Yeah.
So that's why they say shoot. Yeah, not guys in his apartment.
Now, he wasn't even the target criminal in this case.
No, he's just a jerk that
yeah, he was just there. They were serving warrants on, like, what, drug charges or something like that?
Yeah.
And just because he was living in said apartment close to it or something like that, he was like, no, this, they ain't going down with me or whatever. You know?
Ridiculous, man. Anyway, that's the term that they use. Ivanka Trump, quietly pushing for gun control behind the scenes, saw this come out of the Washington Examiner.com. She got in touch with Senator Manchin, and you may recognize Manchin Toomey as being a horrible piece of legislation that would have stripped us of tons of our rights had it actually gone there. But she called Manchin, said she was trying to get a sense of what bills are out there, had him explain how they drafted the bill, where it stands, and what changes needed to be made in order for it to pass. I don't know what job she holds with the government or why she, as Trump's daughter, would be contacting people to talk about gun control. But this one, I want to stay alert on this one. I can't see anything here as being good, and kind of wonder what the pushback is. What are you guys' thoughts?
Does she need to go home somewhere? Like, what's she doing? Like, seriously. Her brother and her brother, really. I think Donald Trump Jr. is actually pretty cool. I took a piss next to him at the NRA meeting, actually.
Nice. Well, the Secret Service clearly didn't get after you for a deadly weapon.
Yeah, no kidding.
Josh actually got pulled off stage by Secret Service.
That did happen too. But the thing is, like, so funny story. Yeah, I walked right in. Or I was actually already in there. He came in after me, and at first I didn't know who he was because I just saw, like, suit in the corner of my eye. I wasn't like, hey, nice watch or anything. So he was standing there. He got done. I walked out first, and then there's, like, guys, like, in the corners, like, with their hands in their vests or whatever. And buddy of mine was like, do you know who that was? And I was like, oh, no, who was it? And he was like, it was Donald Trump Jr. And I was like, oh. So, but I think that she doesn't have a place in government, I don't think. I mean, what is her job title? Does she have a job title?
I don't even know, man. I just, it was so odd. Like, I don't know. I mean, if she's a lobbyist, I guess that's one thing, but it also seems a little bit crazy.
What is she trying to figure out is my question. Like, is she trying to figure out how to make them better? Is she trying to figure out how to get rid of them? Or is she trying to figure out how to make them stricter?
All the articles that I read over the last week or so said that she was quietly pushing for gun control and reaching out to some very, very pro-gun control senators and congressmen, and I guess trying to find out more about it and why it's failed so far.
I will look forward to seeing what happens with that, because I don't. That doesn't really, say what she's asking or whatever. So I don't know. I can't really say.
Now, does she live in the District of Columbia? Does she live with the president in the White House?
I don't think so. I mean, I think she's a grown woman,
right?
As far as I know, but
I was going to say, yeah, just go ahead and get stricter gun laws in the District of Columbia. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, do that. Walmart CEO wants to see the assault weapons ban at least talked about, if not renewed. So after they had that guy walk into a Walmart with an AK pattern rifle, he called for a national debate on whether an assault weapons ban that Congress let expire in 2004 would be effective in keeping weapons made for war out of the hands of mass murderers. They released some of their own data for the first time ever, said that they have a 2% share of firearms market and 20% share of ammunition sales in the country. And declining calls for it to stop selling guns by a bunch of gun control groups, but definitely said that they should revisit the idea of banning assault weapons, to which I say, oh my gosh, if everyone in the gun world has to now boycott Walmart, what are we going to do, guys?
I quit shopping at Dick's. I can quit shopping at Walmart.
I mean, yeah, I can do that too, but they have really cheap ammo, and that's where I usually buy all my ammo at, so that would really suck.
Yeah, and it makes me wonder. I mean, so I think I saw somewhere that just their ammo sales are like $300. Yeah, $80 million a year in ammo sales is what they do. And this guy,
they sell federal premium brass 9mm for I think it's like $30 for 100 rounds.
Yeah,
I mean you can get 400 rounds for $50. Like that's retarded.
You're mad.
Well, you know what I mean.
It'll be tough, man. And I kind of wish that these companies would just shut up. I don't care what the CEO of Walmart's opinion is on anything except the price of avocados.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think it is $30 100 rounds. So my math is terrible, but so it's like $60 for.
It's like $17 for 100 rounds.
Okay, well. Oh wait, yeah. So it's like $30 for 200 rounds. So yeah, it'd be like $60 for 400 rounds.
Nice.
Anyway, the point is that they have good ammo prices, and that would really suck.
Don't get Josh in the math debate.
No, God, no.
I know. I was like, dude, let it go. You don't know. Forget it.
No. I'm good at math.
Assault weapons ban gains momentum in the House. This comes to us from gundynamics.com is the website. And this is basically picking up former Vice President Joe Biden, the front runner in the Democratic presidential primary race. Really? Is that where we are as a country? Vowed to reinstate and strengthen the 94 ban on assault weapons and high-capacity magazines if he's elected president, declaring we have to get these weapons of war off our streets so that I can kiss little girls on the neck whenever I want without fear of retribution. Or something like that. Part of that, maybe. I don't know. What do you guys think? Is it going to...
Shotgun and 2 blasts off the front porch.
That's exactly it. 200 House Democrats have signed on to the legislation. And let's see, 198 co-sponsors. The bill is just 20 votes shy of the number needed to push it through the lower chamber. Do you think it has a chance? Do you think it has any chance of pulling over those Republicans?
Oh, no, absolutely not.
No.
Yeah. Well, New York Republican congressman signs proposed assault weapons ban. This is Peter King is his name. He is a pro-gun Republican from New York, and he has been the first representative to openly put his name on the assault weapons ban. So they got at least one so far.
Doesn't New York already have an assault weapons ban?
Yeah, but this is federal, right? So he wants to do it. He wants to do it in the country.
I forgot what I was going to ask. Go ahead.
I don't know. I think
he wants to do it nationwide. So he wants to pretty much make New York nationwide.
Everywhere.
Yeah, and that's what the assault weapons ban wants. The same one that expired that they signed in '94. And so, I mean, they got this guy already. I wonder how many more will defect.
This is my question. So in our county, in Blount County, that's the name of our county, by the way. In Blount County, and here in Maryville, Tennessee, or in Tennessee, whatever, we have signed a thing that says that Blount County is, and it voted through and passed, that we are a 2A
sanctuary.
Yeah. So how does that work when it comes to, if let's say for instance that Tennessee was adapting the red flag law, so that would basically show to the state that we are not adapting that red flag law. So does that mean
same thing with assault weapons ban?
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends. There's a lot about states' rights, federal rights, and preclusion, and it really does depend. I mean, so there's a Kansas court that's at the Supreme Court right now, a Kansas case, I'm sorry, that's at the Supreme Court right now of a guy, well, because Kansas says that suppressors aren't illegal and you can do whatever. So a guy goes to an Army Navy surplus store. We've talked about it on the show multiple times. He buys a suppressor off the shelf. The ATF arrests him and charges him with possessing an NFA device. without going through the requisite tax stamp and everything else that you need to do to do that. That case is now at the Supreme Court, or at least been proposed to the Supreme Court. I don't know if they've accepted this case or not. So federal government said, no, these are NFA items. These are National Firearms Act items. You cannot own them without paying your $200 and getting, waiting a year. And even though Kansas said that you can, he still is embroiled in this case. So I think that's probably how it'll go in a lot of places, and a lot of people are going to be made examples of.
I hope so. That's all I can say.
I just hope it's not me.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think, man, Tennessee is such a. I don't care what anybody says. Tennessee is a great state, and we have a lot of pro-2A people that are fighting for us in our state, and I'm just thankful that I live here.
Well, honestly, man, if Colorado gets much crazier on gun laws and stuff like that, it's between Tennessee and Texas for me.
I don't blame you, but it looks like the thing I don't understand about Texas is like that guy when we had the Dallas show. Remember when we were down there?
Yeah,
that, governor or whatever. I think he was the governor. Was like trying to get the NRA not to have it there. He didn't want it. It was right after the Dallas shooting. It was like a year afterwards.
He was the mayor pro tem of Dallas.
Yeah. So. I mean, if they have people like that in power, that's not good. I mean, if they have people like that in power, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell had a bunch of angry gun-controlled protesters that did, I don't even remember what they called it, emergency protest to go outside his house. He's there recovering he fell and busted up his shoulder, and he's recovering. And the protesters were making a lot of threats out there. Let me just read a couple of them here. Okay, here we go. And Kenny, I'll try to not read all this stuff, but it says, the bitch home, we keep seeing the lights go on and off. This hoe really thought he was going to get ready to be at home after he hurt his little punk ass shoulder. Bitch, don't nobody give an F. F your thoughts and prayers, Mitch. F you, F your wife, F everything you stand for. Another one said, just stab the mother effer in the heart, please. And I'm thinking, if ever there was a time that I want an AR-15, it's in a situation where a bunch of people are standing outside my house threatening to stab me in the heart and my wife.
Exactly. In Tennessee, we have the stand your ground law.
Yeah.
So I just hope that applies whenever something like this, if it was to happen to me. I mean, I would hope that it's right there for me.
Yeah. Like these people, if they were in their house and someone was outside their house saying these things, yelling, they were rubbing shovels on the sidewalk to make noise and yelling, and I'm like, yes, this is when I want to be able to defend myself and my family.
But he doesn't know that, though, because he has armed guards, right? So he doesn't really know.
It's a good question. I don't actually know the answer to that, but actually, I think it did say that there was people there, men that were standing. A group of men stood outside the senator's home to keep protesters at bay, and the Louisville, Metro Police were on scene to monitor the demonstration. So,
but his thinking is basically, no. I got armed guards here, so it's not a big deal. You need to take their guns away. Guns.
Mitch McConnell, I believe, is pro-gun dude.
Oh, cool. Well, then, good for him.
Yeah. So
I'm saying is, if it was like, anybody else threatening anybody else, he would be like, oh, well, I got guns in here with me, so like, my guards and stuff. So go ahead and disarm the people outside. That's what I want to do. Like that's the way they would be thinking about it. That's the way they would do it, basically.
Yeah, I'm just thinking these protesters standing outside this dude's house. I'm like, you idiots. This is exactly why someone would want a gun. When a bunch of people have torches and pitchforks outside and want to take you out for something that you said, something that you believe in, that's why the Second Amendment exists, you morons.
I think it's really funny how they talk about how they're anti-fascist or whatever and stuff like that, and they're totally against hate, and they're so loving and accepting, and then they try to fucking murder everybody that they come in contact with that doesn't believe what they believe. Sorry, Kenny.
Oh man, Chuck Schumer wants FBI background checks for body armor. This comes to us from foxnews.com. Yeah, so the guy in Dayton, he was wearing body armor, and even though he was dropped in 32 seconds, clearly body armor is way too dangerous for the everyday person. Also, James Holmes in the Kenny, edit that out. I'm sorry. The Aurora micropenis shooter, he was wearing body armor as well, and just this whole thing is so incredibly annoying. So he proposed new legislation to require the FBI to sign off on body armor sales to civilians. And says that anyone can buy a bulletproof vest for $185 and a tactical mask for $10 under the current law. With the click of a mouse, scroll of a thumb, dialing of a phone, someone up to no good can get this. What we've learned is a good number of those intent on mass shootings buy body armor. They want to kill as many people as possible. And I'm pretty sure maybe like 2 or 3 people, 2 or 3 killers. And we live in the safest time we ever have as humanity. And mass killings are not on the rise. And homicides are on the decline countrywide. And
but apparently there's been like 300 something so far this year, right?
Yeah, not true. Sorry about saying the murderer's name. I normally have a very strict policy against that. I just got caught up and very angry about it.
I don't know any of them, so I can't say their name.
Yeah, I literally was just in the parking lot of that theater the other night, so it was.
Oh wow!
And that was on my mind. I had dinner in the parking lot of that theater just the other night, so I was thinking about it a lot. And what's that?
You had pizza in a cup?
No, I think we went to Olive Garden.
Even better.
Even better. Josh H., do you want to go through an FBI background check to buy body armor?
No, because I'm just going to tape phone books to myself.
There you go.
I mean, that just serves the point. Like anything will go. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man.
Stop making these maniacs the most powerful people in our country. Like, stop making these killers affect all the freedom-loving people, all the free people who have done nothing.
I don't understand their mind of thinking. They literally do not care about the people. They don't care about citizens. They don't care if they have the ability to defend themselves or actually protect themselves from somebody that's coming into Walmart or whatever. There's stuff that you can buy to put in backpacks if you're carrying around a backpack every day. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's stuff that you can do to protect yourself. Yet they're just like, no, that guy's going to use it. No, cut it all out. Like you're literally cutting my ability away, and that's all you're doing. You're not doing anything for criminals. I've heard talk about disarming things and stuff like that, but I've never heard them say disarm the criminals. They've only said disarm law-abiding citizens. They haven't said anything about criminals at all. And that's why they're criminals, because they don't care. They're criminals. Yeah,
100% agree. I don't know, man. This next one is an interesting one. Beto, I don't know how to say his name. Beto O'Rourke, presidential hopeful, visits Arkansas gun show to tout an assault weapons ban. So that sounds pretty crazy, right? He basically said on Twitter, if I'm president, you wouldn't be able to buy a weapon of war for $395. You wouldn't be able to buy them at all. Or I think he also said something about insulin costs $450, but an AR-15 costs $395. It shouldn't cost more to save your life than it should to take life. I'm like, okay, that's
they give away Narcan for free.
Yeah, it's such a ridiculous argument that I just can't even believe it. The only reason that I brought up this article is because if you read down far enough, you get to a section. I'm going to read it verbatim and then we can talk about it. He also spoke to gun vendor Preston Link, who supported closing the gun show loophole where background checks are unnecessary. First off, is there any gun show loophole where a vendor at a gun show can sell a gun without a federal form 4473 being filed?
A vendor?
Yeah, a vendor. Someone at a gun show. There,
not a vendor.
Not a vendor. No.
Not a vendor or dealership. No.
Now, what people can do, and this is a firearms vendor at the gun show that said, I would be down with them closing the gun show loophole where background checks are unnecessary. And I assume what he might be talking about is that an individual can go into a gun show and sell a gun person to person if the state allows that, right? Is that how you guys?
In the state of Tennessee, right? Go ahead, and I'll let you do one on that.
Yes, in the state of Tennessee, private sales are legal. So you can be walking in with your rifle slung over your shoulder. You can sell it to a vendor. You can sell it to a private individual. Now, if I'm correct, you have to ask that private individual, are you a felon? Have you committed any felonies? Are you legal in the state of Tennessee?
Can I see your carry permit?
Yeah, can I see your carry permit? You have to ask them all these questions. You don't have to necessarily fill out a 4473, but
it's because you're not an FFL dealer,
right?
Yeah,
any FFL dealer that most of the guys that are at the gun shows all have FFL licenses.
So they have to.
Yeah, right. So if you're an FFL, then yes, you do have to do a background check. Period.
So it sounds to me like this guy just doesn't want any competition, and places where person-to-person transfers are legal, he I don't know. And then
well, it's just like saying that there's a loophole between families. Like I can give my cousin or I can give my brother, I can gift him a firearm if I go buy one. It's not the same as a straw purchase, but I can gift him one as a family member.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah, so I don't know if this Preston Link guy is just an idiot or if he just doesn't want competition. He doesn't want anyone to do person-to-person sales. I don't know. But anyway, it says that when O'Rourke asked Link whether he would accept a requirement that vendors need a federal firearms license, he said he would. But vendors are already required to have a federal firearms license.
Yeah. Right.
This is like Dumb and Dumber. I don't understand.
The thing is, though, is the question should be, should there be a law on it at all?
There you go.
And the question is no.
Idiot gun vendor Preston Link continues on. Just the only problem I see is that there's so many guns out there. Even if you tried to stop selling, they're already out there.
I think that goes to the point of the thing that we've said for this entire show. Basically, there's laws already in place that are not being enforced, and it just goes to show you that it's going to happen no matter what, and there shouldn't be a law on it anyway. Period.
Yeah. I don't know. So anyway, he's an idiot. And he found a bigger idiot to talk to, and both of those idiots got quoted in the news. And this is
just like the guy that showed the AR on the freaking MSNBC or whatever. He was like, used to be a colonel or something like that, and he was calling it fully semi-automatic and stuff like that. Yeah. It's like just retards.
I know. They're all
I will ask that when you were saying a rifle, a military grade rifle for $399. Are we talking about Anderson Manufacturing? Because that's not military grade. I'm not going to lie to you. But he hasn't done his research.
Yeah, but it looks like it. I mean, it's black and it's got a shoulder thing that goes up. So, I mean, clearly it's a weapon of war.
Yeah. Clearly it's a weapon of mass destruction.
It's a pipe bomb in itself.
Yeah.
It is. I'm surprised that everyone hasn't died yet. I'm so freaking annoyed with all the news this week. But
I'm just annoyed that people... I hate it when people about anything really. Like I don't really know much about politics, so I probably shouldn't talk about it. Josh knows more about like the laws of like NFA stuff and all that stuff like that. So I'll let him handle all that. When people don't know what the hell they're talking about, stay out of it. Like you can't sit here and tell me I'm not going to get into it.
No, I'm with you.
I had to break up on NFA laws because Josh about committed like 20. Your whole friendship, and I'm like, dude, you can't do that.
But that's a good friend. No. He's like, no, you cannot commit federal crimes. Stop. Don't even do what you were thinking about doing.
But I thought that this was no, it's not.
Yeah. Presidential hopeful Kamala Harris on Wednesday said if elected president, she will press Congress to pass a red flag law that would allow enforcement officials to temporarily seize the firearms of white nationalists that may be on the verge of carrying out a hate crime. Calls for the creation of a domestic terrorism prevention order that would give law enforcement and family members of suspected white nationalists or domestic terrorists the ability to petition a federal court to temporarily restrict a person's access to guns if the person exhibits clear evidence of being a danger. She says we need to take actions to keep the guns out of hands of dangerous people and stop violent hate-fueled attacks before they happen. By focusing on confronting these domestic terror threats, we can save lives. And I'm like, well, maybe just red flag all of Antifa, I guess, if we're going to do it. I mean,
here's an idea: find the criminals and red flag them. I've never committed a crime in my life besides like speeding or something. You know what I'm saying? But as far as like a major crime, never done it. Never been to jail. Never been arrested. And don't plan on being. So
because I stopped you.
But the point is that why is it a crime to be white? Well, why is it a crime to be? I don't understand why. I don't understand why we're getting dragged through the mud.
I think they're saying KKK and Nazis and things like that. But
yeah, but they see it as every white person that owns a gun is KKK. You know what I'm saying?
Could be, and I'm just like, dude, no, this is just as bad as any other red flag law. Like, if you want to take someone's rights away, then they need to go through due process. They need to be arrested, charged, adjudicated, all these different things, and then once they're convicted of something, then you can put them in jail or charge them with felonies, which strips them of certain rights. And I'm sorry, man, I don't even agree with a red flag for domestic terrorists or white nationalists or Antifa or anything else. I don't agree with taking people's rights in any case, in any form.
I don't agree with red flag laws at
Once again, there are laws already in place that are not being enforced. So what?
Yeah, this is rife for abuse, and even if everything goes right, there's going to be cases where people die because someone reported them for something else. It's just dumb. California mayor.
It's going to be taken advantage of, just like the tweet from President Trump when he made the other day. Did you see that when he was talking about this guy is clearly angry? Should he be red flagged and all this sort of stuff like that? Like he was taking advantage of that. Like, so that's Joe to show you that yes, it can be taken advantage of because it can be done just like that. That's the thing.
Yeah. That was pretty great. He was making a joke, and it basically pointed out everything wrong with red flag laws.
Yep, sure did.
California mayor proposes Obamacare for guns. Buy insurance or pay a fine. What? This comes to us from, oh man, sorry, I just messed up the link. It comes to us from, everything's destroyed. I think they heard me. Comes to us from KQED, San Jose.
I don't know Bill Clinton.
On Monday introduced the first of its kind measure to curb gun violence. Too often, we have seen these horrible tragedies in the headlines, and by now it seems that nothing more is added by merely offering thoughts and prayers. City leaders don't have the luxury of waiting for Congress to act, have to protect our communities. It's simply about stopping gun violence tomorrow. It is about ensuring that the public no longer pays for the cost of gun violence. But I think what he's trying to say is that the public would have to pay for insurance, and then he immediately says no longer pays for the cost of, I don't know. They would be held to the same harm reduction standards and requirements as drivers. And I'm like, okay, so riddle me this, Batman. Josh H, Josh C, and me are going to have to carry this insurance. Clearly, we don't live in San Jose, but theoretically, are going to have to carry this insurance and pay for this insurance, which is probably going to cost because they're going to look at, they're going to have all their tables and everything else that they look at and risk factors and everything else. So it's going to cost us all money. And the same idiots that are murdering people are still going to murder people because they're not going to buy this insurance because they don't care about their stupid laws because they're clearly murdering people and breaking the laws anyway.
Yep. Criminals are criminals. That's the thing. They don't care about laws. That's why they're criminals. First of all, the only thing I have to say is, when is it going to be time to stop being a law-abiding citizen and be an outlaw? When is that going to happen? Because you know what? It very could possibly happen pretty soon if all this stuff goes into play. Maybe.
Here's how I look at it. To me, this insurance is almost like the NFA. In 1934, they hit you with the bill, the 1934 NFA, National Firearms Act. It was impossible for the average person to acquire said firearms because the $200 tax stamp was so high at the time. So if they implement that insurance is for everybody, they can pretty much say, oh, well, it's $500 a month for you to have insurance to carry a firearm, right?
Yeah.
So the average person can't afford that. The average person can't carry a firearm.
Which is the same thing as, take all the ammo or put taxes on the ammo so that, you can have guns, but if you can't buy the ammo, then you don't have the problem. Like, it's just, they're trying to find a solution to something that the only solution to it is everybody carries a firearm. That's the only solution, in my opinion. Yeah. Let it be wild out here. And if you know what, the next time this happens, hang the dude in the freaking streets and televise it.
Yeah, the Running Man. It should happen. These are Jim Crow laws. They are saying poor people should not be able to have firearms. Poor people do not have the right of self-defense, the inalienable right to protect your own life. They're saying poor people don't deserve that. Sacramento, California, California lawmakers are finally pushing for a $25 tax on all handguns and semi-auto rifles sold in California. So once again, if you can afford a $110 high point and you have a reason to think that you're going to be injured, like or whatever it happens to be. But let's say a single mom who has, scrounges up $110 to buy a high point and some ammunition, and now there's this extra $25 tax in addition to all the other crazy and, in my opinion, unlawful taxes in California. All these laws all these taxes and insurance requirements, they stop people from protecting themselves. And poor people forget about it. You're not good enough for the Second Amendment, which I guess means you're not good enough for any other amendment either. So poor people, you're second-class citizens, and you don't deserve any of the freedoms that the rest of us can maybe afford to buy. Right? Yep. That's what we're saying.
That's exactly what
we're saying, yes.
It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. California, I know we have so many listeners in California, and I love you guys. And, man.
Move.
It's awful. It's not that easy. They got families and businesses and
Kenny lives in California, right? Like that. He's talked about how hard it is for him if it was to move and stuff like that. Like, and I get it. I really do get it. But the fact is that we shouldn't have any law against it about anything. I mean, shall not be infringed is pretty freaking simple. But for those of you that have to live by, or all of us that have to live by the law that's going on now, there are already laws in place that are not being enforced. So why make more?
There you go. Josh H., any last words?
I would rather be judged by what's the saying? I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6. So I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not going to say bring it, but I'm going to keep my firearms and I'm going to protect myself and my family.
When is it going to be time for law-abiding citizens to be an outlaw?
And on that note, I will recommend that everyone read American Insurgent by frequent panelist on this show, Phil Rabelais. It's available on Amazon, and it describes exactly what you guys were just talking about. There's an audiobook available on audio as well, and book 2 is going to come very soon. I think it's a good book. I think it's valuable for anyone who wonders when is enough? What happens when enough isn't enough? I'm not saying that that's where I stand. I'm just saying it's an interesting and tough book to read because it talks about exactly that. So anyway, I think it's a good one. Josh, where can people find you, and what the heck have you guys been up to?
So we have just passed our 5,000 subscriber mark on YouTube. We are thank you. We are currently just a YouTube channel, so we try to put out as much content as possible. Always try to put out content at least every Tuesday, if we're not like sick or on vacation or just can't get it out there. But we can be found on YouTube, can be found on Instagram and Facebook. Most of our stuff is going to be on Instagram and YouTube. So go subscribe and like and do all that other crazy stuff, and that's about it.
We also have some really cool stuff coming up. We will also be at the Iraq Veteran 8888 Annual Range Day for all you guys who are listening that actually want to meet up with us. Say, hey, that's where we'll be at.
In the middle of nowhere in Georgia, so if you could luck basically.
Be hanging out with Sean.
Yeah,
I'll be there.
Taking classes on Sunday with Sean, so that'd be cool.
Yep. Skinny Medic and I are going to do a civilian medical refresher, just kind of clinic / workshop, a couple hours for all the content creators that are out there. Should be a lot of fun. Can't wait to do that. Black Diamond Guns and Gear is where you can find these guys, and I appreciate you guys. It's been much too long. I was like, man, did they die? Because normally you text me every week.
Yeah. Man, it's just been busy, super busy, man.
Josh got sick.
I did get sick for 2 weeks, but yeah.
Oh man. All right. Well, start taking some vitamin C or something.
That's the problem. See, I started working out, and then I got messed up. So.
Oh yeah, health is no good for anybody. Guys, thank you so much for listening to the show. Go check out the Patriot Patch Company and Second Call Defense. Firearmsradio.tv/SCD is where you can find out more. We talked about that lady who had to pull out her gun. Anytime you have to use your firearm in self-defense, there's going to be questions. There's going to be things you don't know. And Second Call Defense provides a pretty easy way to go to find out about that and to be protected from whatever may happen. So go check that out. Firearmsradio.tv is the Firearms Radio Network, and where you can find everything and all kinds of wonderful and fabulous shows. And This Week in Guns is produced by Kenny Ortega and is a production of the Firearms Radio Network. And we'll catch you all next week. Thanks for listening. Don't watch the YouTube feed.